Hello, it's Jesse here, and welcome back to Jesse's Vintage Garage. And we're working on the Mark III again here. We got some stuff done in the background there without having to actually try to video record all of it because it was finicky stuff that took like forever, and it would have been like a long video if we would have recorded every little moment of it. So, to save all that and to keep you from being bored, we're gonna just kind of like run through what goes on here because that's all that really needs to happen is you need to know the layout of how this stuff goes, and from there instead of watching us finick around with a bunch of stuff. So what I'm getting at is we got the oil lines ran, and I'll show you how they route up. We got a lot of some of the electrical work kind of like laid out here, and we'll talk about that. But so I guess starting off the lines, did you want to talk about how you
This is the feed line. This is oil incoming. So this outside one goes from here to the feed of the tank, down to the banjo in the back, and it comes in.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay. Then this is the return. So this line and the return line has this metal spiral thing wrapped. It's pushed through it. That's so it doesn't kink when you put it on. Now, where this is running to is the oil filter that's under here and installed. Okay, so what happens is this one returns and it goes to the outside of the oil filter. The oil filter's here. It goes to the outside, fills the filter, and goes to the inside. This other line, the one that comes out of the inside, is the outgoing, and that's the next line that's back there, and it comes out to the rear and hooks up right here. Comes across the top of the horn, comes up and goes into this line and goes back into the tank to create the whole system. This is a breather line. This is a big line, a 1/2 inch on the Mark III. And it goes down. Now, I have a sump breather in this bike. Now, it's hard to see, but it's down under here. And that big line directly hooks into the sump breather.
kind of see it there? Let's see if we can get right there. Yeah, there it is. Nice view of it right there.
So what that does is it creates a negative pressure inside the crankcase. So it's not creating too much positive pressure. Positive pressure makes gaskets and seals leak. And so this should become a very dry motor, which all of our other Nortons are. So then, now after the breather, this oil tank also has one more line. It's right here. This is a vent. And this vent comes down. And in this case, it comes down, and I got it just exiting down in between the cases. And so that it into the atmosphere. Most of ours, we do that to it, and because it just expels air. Now, sometimes if the motor's not in really good condition, they may drip a drip or two of oil. Most of ours never drip anything, and the hose is always dry. So I guess we'll see what's going to happen. Originally, these went into the air filter, and I could have put it into the air filter, but I chose not to, and so it's my personal desire not to. So
Yeah, so that's the oil line situation there. So then,
now, moving on to the electrical, that's very involved, and I've just got it all laid out here. I had to get a new headlight one because the old headlight one, the sockets were all bad. I guess I could have cut off all the deals and put bullets in all of them, but I chose not to. I bought a new one. But the main harness is in very good condition, and so this runs back to the tail light. one zener is hooked up over here, and it comes up and hooks into the rectifier. And this one, because it has a half wave rectifier, that it's different than the earlier models, and so this one has a zener diode to each, and on each side these alternator leads hook to one lead of the alternator hooks to each one of these outside, and this here is the, which would be AC coming here, and it converts it to DC. And this DC one here, the center one, the brown wire, ends up sending DC voltage to the bike. Now, also there's two wires on each one of these. On each one of these, there's two wires. See, there's two wires. Each one of these side ones. One goes to the alternator lead. The other one goes to a zener. There's a zener on both sides. See, this is white and green. This side, I got it hooked up white and green. The other one over there, if you look at that zener, it was white and it's yellow and green.
Main green and yellow line.
Yeah, green and yellow line. And so that's hooked up to this side. And so that completes that circuit. And I also put the solenoid in here for starting. Of course, I don't have the big lines on it yet, but I got the little lines hooked to it. And I've got a 2MC capacitor hooked in, just like it was originally. And we got a warning light simulator hooked up. Now, what I didn't realize is that I bought a new one because I didn't know if the old one was in good shape or bad. So I just looked up the same number that the old one was and bought it new. Now I find out that this is a Canadian version because it has headlight and tail light. And this is alternator, and power. And so now I'm finding that this isn't the one I wanted. What I wanted was the one for the United States and other parts of the world that was just an alternator or a power simulator. It tells you if the alternator is working, and you know. And so I'm going to replace this with a US one. Now, why this US bike had this, I don't know, but it did. And I guess I could use it. How it works is you would turn the key on, and if you turn the key on to start it, this would be off. If you turn the key on to start it, your headlight and your tail light would not be on. You'd start the bike, the red light would go out, and your headlight and tail light now will come on. And everything else works just like it would.
Like a daytime running light.
Yeah, your lights will always be, you can't shut your lights off unless you shut the whole bike off, and then everything goes out.
And see, nowadays, that's how it is on new bikes, because in 1977, it went into effect in our country, the United States, that had to have a daytime running light. So any bike 77 and older, and even some 78s and older, depending on when it actually implemented, would actually not have a daytime running light.
Yeah, so I could run it, and I could use it, and I might, but I'm thinking I'm going to put it back to like it was originally. I can always remember to turn my lights to the second notch. So, but
anymore, though, it's kind of nice having a light on, so if you don't get hit. But
yeah.
It's also nice to not have a light on, because that's how it was.
Yes, exactly.
So it's kind of hard to, it's whatever you want.
And I haven't hooked up the alternator yet. What's happening here is I got two. This is a neutral light, a red. That's kind of faded, but it's red, and it goes down to the neutral light. And this is a green, and this is green, so that's neutral. These two wires here, you got two whitish wires. If you remember what I just told you earlier, you got these two wires up here. One of these wires go down to the zener. So what's happening here is you get a double you put a double put one of them double ones, and then your alternator wires come out. So the two green ones get matched up and the two white ones get matched up. So you put a double wide one here, and when the alternator gets run in, we'll snap it into the one of each of them, and that will finish this. So the only other power there was to be hooked up was the purple and the red one, and that goes down under here and hooks to the horn. These two wires that are left here, of course I got to put an end on it because this end was missing, so I got a new one. I got to put this on yet, and these two will go to the battery. This is positive and this is negative, and that will complete the electrical from this end. The only thing I got left to do on electrical up here is to finish up hooking up the console. I got the switch, I got the ignition switch already hooked up. It's ready to go. I got to hook up all the warning lights, and these wires here go to the warning light, and these here, all these wires will go into the headlight bucket itself. So it'll go like that, and then get hooked in and buried within the headlight. So
Yeah, so we'll be working on that.
the other wires that are laying out here that's open, that's not hooked up yet, is some of this stuff is not going to be needed because I'm going to use electronic ignition on this bike. So it will not need the ballast resistor. So what this was for is when this had points and they had it wired into 6-volt coils, and this was part of the system. The white and the black, where are we at here? You got, here's your point wires that went down to the points. This is an ignition wire. This is a coil. These hooked up the coils. This is the positive. This is the power to the coil. This is coming from the points. So you got your black and yellow side, and you got your black or your white with black line to the other side, and your other ignition or power to the coil. And well, here it is. Yeah, here, black and yellow. Yeah, black and yellow, and black and white, and so on. And then you had these other ones here went to the capacitors, or the little there was a little rubber pack with little condensers hooked into it. That's what these two wires were. They were condensers, and this was the negative or the positive ground for the condenser pack. So, but like I say, I'm not going to use half of this stuff. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this yet. So I got it just laying here. I think most of this is just not going to be needed. So it's because all I need is what comes with the Tri-Spark ignition box. So that'll be a separate thing when I go to hook up the ignition. So, but for right now, I want to finish this area up here. So that's where we're going.
We got the dash part right here all wired up, and
All the little lights are hooked in.
yeah,
the red one takes, now this one is faded, but it's red, and it takes a white and brown. A white wire. Excuse me. It's supposed to be just a white wire. It's got brown on it, but I had to make a jumper. What you don't realize is that this wire here that hooks into these lights only has 6 wires coming out of it. You need 8 because there's 4 lights. So what you got to do is on number 2, on the main switch, there's a double spade. So I found out of an old wiring harness, I found a one that fits on a spade that had 2 white wires. Well, it had, I don't know, brown or purple or whatever. I don't care about that. I just needed white wires to go to 2 of the lights. This is one of them. Okay, the red light gets one of them. The other one, the other white wire out of this goes clear over here to the neutral light. The neutral light gets a green wire and a white wire. Then the turn signals get a green and white and a green and red. The high beam one gets a blue and a white and brown. And that's what makes all that work. Then I just wire tied these 2 together so they hold, so they don't move around. Now we're ready to put the headlight on. So I gotta put all these wires into the center here. It's easier to do this now than it is to do it later. Then you go inside and make sure that you got it all snapped into place. And I do. Okay, now the wire's hooked up. Now we're going to put these in here. If you could take one hand and hold there. Put the turn signal through. I'm just going to get it good and started. There we go. Then we'll do the other side. Same way. All the way in there. There you go. Now this time we're going to go ahead and get these where we want them. Or very close to it. Very close to it. Shoot.
What is it?
I got them upside down. This one belonged over here and this one belonged over there because this says Lucas here, see? Now the writing's upside down.
Oh yeah, Lucas is on top.
I could take the lenses off, but it'll be easier just to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to switch it around.
I didn't pay attention to that. Well, you could just leave it like it is, but little things like that bother me.
Yeah. Alright, we'll get that fixed up here. There we go. We got them switched over. Lucas is on top now, and like it's supposed to be. And the original ones. Now we're ready to start wiring the rest of the headlamp here. So. Alright. Just bent them up.
We're going to put the other 2 grommets in here. 75s take a 3-hole. 74, 72, or actually 71s through 74 only use 1 hole down here. But then they got 3 holes up here and a switch. So it's just a little different. There it goes. There it goes. The switch control wires come in through here. And these things are to, once you get the wires all laid in here, you can lay them out to the outside and around so that you can get your headlight in there. You bend this around to hold the wires back. So we won't be putting any of that on until after we get this all fixed up. Now we got to put the controls on, bring them wires in and hook them all into this. And but the new headlight deal, and all of them are coming this way now. They're putting bullets on all of these ends. And the original controls have these. So what I'm going to have to do here, because I have no place to hook them into, the other end of this is missing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to cut them all off and put bullets on each end of this, and then run them on here and put them on and get it to go. This one goes over here, then these wires that come up through there, feed it down. You know how it goes. And so
Yeah, bullet shaped. Yep.
yeah, they call those bullets. I think these are, they got a name for these too. I can't think of what it is right now, but these actually work really good. But I'm not going to buy the other end and cut the bullets off. And I got to cut something off to make this work. So I'm going to go with this. So all the older bikes had these and they work fine. So these on here, the hoses are here. I put the throttle cable on. It's going to just hang here until we get carburetors on. And I put the control, because I needed the wires in here.
Right, so we got the controls on like he was just saying, and they're coming through the headlight in their perspective spots. And he has so far been able to change these over to bullets now. You got these all pretty much looking pretty good here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we got them all heat shrinked as well. Nice.
And then they just hook up to the main wiring harness.
So if you're familiar with the old style like wiring like this, with the plugs and stuff like the earlier Nortons, and then without those fittings we showed you earlier, they went to that later. But anyways, we're going to be running it this way because of the way the wiring harness is set up, like you said in the last section there. So we got some more work to do that's kind of tedious and time consuming, and then we'll come back and be ready to start hooking this stuff up. So with the front brake reservoir here, and he has the brake line all hooked up now, and it's ready to go into there, so it'll get routed through there, and then the brake light switch, it's all hooked up, and this pigtail has to go into the headlight as well next. So there we are. We got all the wires routed through the headlamp there, and then we got everything hooked up.
Yeah, they all got the same colors, so it's just a matter of each item going into the main wiring harness in the same colors. So like blue and red, blue and red, blue and white, so on, and just brown and brown, and blue and red and white, you know. And then when you get all done, there isn't any left over except for one. There's one spare, and it's a pink and white. I'm not really sure what that was used for. It might have been for, like, you know, these were also police bikes if you ordered it that way. And maybe this was for a flashing light or something. Who knows? So it's just not used. It's not used on our other ones either. It's just laying, they just put a plug over it. So, but right now we're going to coil all this up in here and try to put the headlight back on.
Hope it fits.
And hope it fits.
There we are. We just got it popped on there, and you gotta make sure you get those metal tabs behind there. They'll fold it over those wires a little bit, and then pop it in and tighten up the screw. So there's that for that. What else for you gonna plan on doing for wiring or whatever? Right now, that's pretty much it.
Yep. Now we just got to hook up a battery. Oh well, I got the difference warning light simulator.
Oh yeah. So we could pop a battery in here and just go ahead and test it. We probably should do that. Kind of like we can test some of the connections anyway, but
This is a headlight warning simulator.
yeah, we talked about this earlier.
And this is a ignition or a charging simulator ignition. So it hooks up differently. It also doesn't have a tab because this is how they're making them now. I wish they would have made them like they originally did, and they also got bigger. So it doesn't fit under the air cleaner as nicely as the other one did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Velcro it down. I'm going to put a piece of Velcro here like this, and this piece here I'm going to put right there, and then the thing will sit like this, and then I'll wire it up. And there is room for the air cleaner to fit in there yet, and that way if I need to work on it ever or replace it, I can. And so, but that's where I'm planning on putting it for right now, so we'll see.
All right. There we go. We got that box hooked up there. What was that called again?
It's a warning light simulator.
Oh yeah, that's right. Warning light simulator. Okay, so this is the United States type. The other one was that other one,
Canadian.
Like Canadian, and this one ended up not using a couple wires, but everything else.
The other one didn't either, but it was different wires. Before it was the red and the white one wasn't used. This time it's the blue and the brown and green, which is tail lights, tail lights, and the blue is the headlights. See, if you remember what this one did is, as soon as alternator current started passing through this, it turned on both your tail lights, and the headlight. So this was a headlight relay. And well, I guess it's kind of neat. You'd never forget to turn your headlight off. But trouble is, you also can't test your headlight or your tail light or anything by turning the key on unless you start it and run it. So, I don't know. I didn't want it.
We only have a few wires hooked up yet. It was the
This is going to be for the ignition. When we run the ignition,
the coils.
it'll be the ground to the coils and the coil wires.
And then this
Be
one,
the ignition wire, and then the coil wires come out of the ignition.
This one was a ground, isn't it?
And this ground goes to the head.
Yep, like we did on the 74. So.
Yeah. So, then the only other wires I got left to run is the starter cables. There's 3 of them. One will go to the starter, and 2 of them go on the solenoid. One goes to the ground of the motor right here. Yeah, right here. And the other one goes to the battery. And then the other wire goes to the starter itself. There's 3 wires.
And this, when we go to do that, we'll have the beefier cables. When we go to do that, we'll talk about that then. But otherwise, we got to run the fender and hook up the taillight yet also as well.
Yep. So I can't really test the electrics yet. So.
All right,
but it should work.
All right, we'll move on to something else here now. All right, well, here's the original wiring harness from the bike that when we got all the parts for it. We got to remember that these Nortons, they're positive ground. So what we're about to say here probably explains the reason why something happened with this wiring harness.
This wiring harness is toast. Somebody hooked up a battery backwards, and when you do that, it melts. All the ground wires start getting really hot, and it zips all the way through the whole wiring harness and melts all the wires together. And so because of that, this whole wiring harness is just junk. And that's why I bought a new wiring harness and put a different wiring harness on it, because there was no salvaging this. I mean, if you feel this is all burnt together. I mean, look at that.
It's like solid. It's all melted together, yeah. Otherwise, this was all kind of complete and had everything laid out just right. And we kind
Because
of
everything was still hooked to
we
it.
used it for some reference. Maybe we got that there.
Yeah, rectifier is
Yeah,
probably still good, and the solenoid's probably still good. And the warning light, this has a warning light too.
Oh yeah, it's the.
See, so this bike might have been a Canadian bike. I have no idea where the guy got it. Maybe he got it from Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could live close to the border, you probably could have one, but
Maybe
anyways,
some of those were imported to the United States. I've never seen one like it, so I don't know.
So speaking of like the positive ground thing, there's a lot of people that have a problem with this, and they just can't seem to wrap their mind around it. But I mean, it's red is going to positive no matter what. You just need to not worry about where it's hooked up to onto the frame or the body or anything. Brown, green, blue, black, usually always negative. Once you got that established.
But in this case, what it amounts to is that this is positive, but it goes to ground. On everybody else's cars and stuff, this positive never goes to ground. This one would go to ground, and because it'd be the black or whatever. And the positive would be your hot wire. In this case, it is a hot wire, but it's ground. It goes to the frame. And so by doing that, you can tell. So I've already got ground, and
Yeah, just like this one.
yep, that should go ground too. So yep.
Just a little tutorial on that. We'll probably pop a battery in here just to see if the headlight comes on. Blinkers
Once
work.
we get the tail light on here,
Yeah, we'll probably do that after that.
turn the turn signals on.
We'll test all the wires at once. So we got the battery cables for the starter hooked up, laid in here right now. The positive ground one here, the red one, it goes to the case, like so. We kind of heat shrinked and covered up some of the red, so it would shadow really well when we go to put this together the rest of the way, so it doesn't like stick out like crazy, a big old red line, you know. So, but we could still tell that it's the positive one by leaving a little bit of red here and there. So we also got the strap installed here. There's a pin you got to pop through to hook this in here. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get in, but you got to drive it in. And what else we got? Oh, we had to like lay this over because setting it upright was not enough room for the airbox we installed. So got it sitting here.
There's a spacer underneath this piece that fits in there. Then there's 2 bolts in the front that goes on there, and I put large fender washers on it because it bolts into plastic, so it holds in nice and tight. So then it's solid.
Yep. Okay. And then that's it. Oh, we got the cables hooked up to the solenoid as well. We're gonna work on moving on to doing the brakes, getting them set up for the front and rear right now, and go from there.
I hooked the hose in here, and I got it bolted where it needs to go.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing.
And I got this hose bolted in. I got it bolted up to that deal. We got to put the Bundy pipes in.
So this is going into this bracket here. Then it switches up and hooks into another line that comes down.
Yeah, then there's this line that goes across like this.
Trying to get
Goes in here.
good picture of it. It's coming off that fitting right up here, and then the line that he has right there actually comes down, goes through into here, this fitting over here.
Yep.
And then it routes down right through.
It goes in like this and bolts up. I got to bolt it all together. I didn't put it in yet, but we will.
Yeah, there you go so far. So here's the brake stuff. We're going to work on a couple of calipers and rebuild them in a way, and then get them ready.
Definitely going to rebuild.
Rebuild.
They started out like this, where you got to take your tool that's got the 2 pins and go like that. Normally what you'll want to do is, while these are on the front of the bike or on the back, wherever they're at, you'll want to crack this loose first before you take the caliper off, because you have to take it out. And once you take it out, that exposes the pistons. The pistons will look like this on the inside. And what'll happen is, first thing you got to do is when you back this out, I'm not going to do that to this one. Somebody broke the bleeder. There's supposed to be a bleeder here. Somebody broke it off in there. If they're stuck and you try turn it, they're hollow. So, and they're made out of brass. So, or somewhat brass, or brass plated. I'm not really sure what they're made out of. They might be steel with a brass coating. I don't know, or copper coating. I don't know. But anyway, they look brass. But what I will say is they break real easy. So if you don't have a huge wrench on it, you know, you got a nice little dainty wrench. If it doesn't want to come loose right away, you're going to use heat. You got to use heat. Heat this baby up nice and warm and hot, and as soon as it starts cooling down, it'll pop right loose, and then they come out. In fact, I had to do that to both of these, and I didn't break them off. But somebody didn't pay attention to that, and that's the problem with them sitting for years and years without ever being bled. So, but anyway, once you get this off, then you got to blow air in there, and what it'll do is it'll start to push that piston, and you couldn't get inside of here and push that piston out. You got to get this first piston out. Then you got to take out the seals. There's rubber seals, 2 flat rubber seals. There's one on each side. One goes in the groove here for the top piston. And then there's another groove on the back one back here. This is a double piston caliper. So you got another rubber that goes back in there. And so this takes 2 pistons. One goes in the back one goes in this way, and the front one goes in this way, because this part goes up against the brake pads. So what we're going to do first is we're going to open this up, and we're going to coat these rings in some brake fluid, and we're going to put these in. But we're not going to put the front one in. We're going to put the back one in, because we got to put the back piston in first. Once we get the back piston in, then we're going to put the next ring in here, and then we're going to put the next piston in. And then there's another there's another seal in here that's a little bit wider than the other 2, and that one goes in the cap. See, there's a deep channel here. Now, this is a stainless cap, so it won't get all ugly like this one was. This was cadmium plated steel, and after a while, I mean, if it's, you know, it's fine like this, but I just wasn't going to use my old ones because they looked worse than this. So I bought a new kit, all stainless pistons. What'll happen to these, if I took this apart, these pistons, you can see it right there, they're steel. They'll be rusty. They'll be real rusty. And they'll be chrome plated. So what'll happen is you'll pop them out, and you'll see the chrome is all blistering, and it's getting cruddy. You can't reuse them. They'll just tear up the seals, and they'll leak brake fluid. And they're just... So the best way to go is new stainless pistons. Yeah, it costs a little money, but that's the way to go. Then you put it together once and it's all done. So.
I'm starting to put the first seal in there, isn't it?
Yep. I coated it in brake fluid that you're going to be using. I use .5 because it's silicone and it won't corrode up. But Sometimes they can be really hard to get in. You have to make sure I'm in all the way. I'm sure I am. They just got to pop past it. That's all they got to do. Sometimes you got to have them good and wet. And you got to get them square. There it goes. And sometimes you just got to get in there with something big and push it. My thumb ain't big enough.
We had a hard time getting the piston in just a minute ago, but
Stay.
you had to stay, but it wouldn't bottom out. We ended up cleaning it some more.
Found out that the passageway was plugged with corrosion.
Thought we had it cleaned enough, but that crap can be pretty evasive, I guess.
.3 turns into white powdery crap.
So we're going to get this cleaned up a little the rest of the way, and we'll work on putting it back together in a minute. Now we got the piston pushed in the rest of the way this time.
Not all the way, just most of the way. Now if I blew air down there and plugged this hole, it'd pop out.
Yeah, so that'd be how you remove it, but
I had a heck of a time evidently getting this one apart, or whoever did it. I don't think I did it, to tell you the truth. I think it was already apart. Okay, so now I got the next seal in, and it's all wet. It's in there all the way. Okay. Now what I'm doing this for is so that I don't push the piston in too far. There it goes. Okay, I felt it go. Now what we're going to do, I'm not so concerned with it going any further.
right. Yeah.
Now what I'm going to do is put this seal on. This seal can be kind of hard to put on because it's long and you got to stretch it.
And it's oily.
And it's oil. Well, you got to do it wet.
Yeah,
because,
I'm just saying it's slippery, so you have a time.
because it actually will go on easier once you get it started and you hold it there. Then you can walk it around and stretch it like this. If you're lucky. It got on my fingers. There it goes. Almost. There it is. Okay. Now all we got to do is start this baby like this. See, the piston lays like this because that's actually the reservoir on both sides.
Right. You know,
For the fluid.
Yeah, the fluid all builds up and pushes it inward.
Yep.
So.
guess the pads don't need to stay in no more. Okay. This one's ready to go on. And then once we get it on the bike, then we'll tighten this up the rest of the way with the tool. But for right now,
Yeah, we've got one more to build now. It goes together the same way this one did, but we could probably go watch it. It goes pretty quick here, so.
so I got used up some fluid there. I didn't want to waste any more than I needed to. Okay, inside one first. You just got to feel the groove and work it in. It goes quite easily, actually. And it pops right in, see?
Oh, yeah, yep.
Then you make sure it's nice and wet all the way around. Wet the piston. Drop the piston down in there. They can get crooked a little bit. And they'll hang up. There it goes. This one went.
Yeah, there it went. We did double check that one before we started anyway, so just let you know.
Okay, so yeah, it's open.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's in and it's all wet. Wet up the piston. Wish I had an old set of brake shoes for this. I'll have to brake clean these before I put them on. There we go. It's in. Now comes the hard one. I call it hard because it looks like it's way too small. There it goes. We'll brake clean that before we go put it on the bike. In fact, we'll brake clean this whole thing so it's not all
Oily and stuff.
oily and stuff. Yeah, because brake pads and everything should be dry. We'll tighten it the rest of the way on the bike. It'll be easier. Once this is screwed on.
Right. Helps like a third hand.
Yeah.
That looks pretty nice. All right. Well, let's go put them on the forks in the back there. There we go. We got the pads installed, and we're putting it on the front here. Now the calipers are the same, but the bolts are different.
Bolts are different lengths because this is thicker than that back because this is aluminum. I could have put either one either place. It didn't matter.
That's what I mean, yeah.
I need a socket for
That's
this.
hard to get to, yeah.
Yeah, I need a socket for that one. That's okay. There'll be a torque on this, and we'll look that up. But for right now, I'm going to get it good and snug. Okay, that's tight. There it is. Now we'll mount the back one. So these bolts are shorter because this is thinner, and if you have too long a bolt, it'll go in and hit the brake rotor. So the bolts are
A specific length.
a specific length, yes. Really?
I guess that was in a way.
Goes. There it is.
All right, now we can put some lines up.
Now we put the lines in and then we can bleed them. Come over here. We're going to start this one.
So we're putting in that line between the top triple tree and lower triple tree.
course, doesn't help now, does it? I guess I'm not even started yet. Must not be lined up just quite right. I'll tell you what, I think this one's easier to do.
The one down here.
Yeah, so we'll take that one off. I thought it was off. Maybe it ain't. Maybe yeah, it's off. Okay, so let's put this one on first. There it goes.
That'll allow you to bring it all the
And
way
once you
up,
get it
yeah.
threaded up there all the way,
It'll bring it up higher.
yeah, then it'll be easier to get the other. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm going to have to loosen the brake line, huh? There it goes.
Let's see if I can see it.
Okay.
Oh, you got. There we are.
Now, in order to tighten stuff up, hold pretty good. I don't know if I can get on there with this or not. Rubber in there. No. I need another. I thought I had another 9/16 here. Had one earlier. Put it back. There.
There we go.
Okay.
Got it tight.
Yep, cut it tight.
All right.
I gotta get this.
All right. So now we're installing this this jumper line, which they call a Bundy pipe.
I don't know why. There it goes. It's very important to get this one started first because this is the other one's easier. If you get this one mostly in there and just leave it cracked loose, you can move it around. This way it's in position. They really thread in a long ways. There, it's going to be tight right there, so I'll leave it right there. Now the next thing's got to go on is this bracket. This bracket goes on along with the fender, but for now what we're going to do is we're going to just put the nuts on here, hold it in place, and then later we'll put the fender on. Okay, so next thing happens is this goes on.
I think it's tight to that bracket.
Yep.
That bunny pipe's getting right where it wants to be, right in your way. Yeah, there you go.
Now it's a good time to start it. There we go. Now I can come up here and finish this. I like to turn this to where this bow's away from the fender. See, because you can turn this either way, like this.
Right.
See?
Yep.
So I like to turn it a little bit away from the fender so that it doesn't always thump on the fender every time you hit a bump or... I learned this the hard way.
Yeah, I got you. You're like, what's that annoying sound I hear once in a while?
Yeah. How come the fender's got a funny wear mark?
Oh, that too, yeah. I got a smooth worn spot.
And it rubs on the... I don't want it to rub on the hose at all.
Yeah, because the fenders are stainless and
Yep.
it ended up like rubbing on it. And even if it was a painted fender, you still wouldn't want that either. But, yeah.
Now I gotta hold this. Put the thin one. Then I gotta put the thin one up here. There we go. That's tight. Now we gotta hold this one. There. Now the Bundy's tight. Now these are braided stainless lines. They did not come with this hose on it, this piping or this coily thing. All the original hoses did. So all I did is cleaned up my original one and unwound it off of it and put it on this one so it looks original. Maybe it's cheating. I don't care. I did it to the back one too. The back one and the front one in stock hoses has these. So
Yeah.
So all we got to do is tighten this up, and we're ready to bleed the brakes up front. There it is. There it is. Just like it's supposed to be.
Right. I'll probably hook the rear one up and then probably start bleeding the brakes. So on the rear brake here, we got a few major parts. We have of course, the master cylinder for the rear master cylinder. We have to put that on. It's a Mark III style, of course, but this is a new design for the Mark III. So we're gonna go over that. But and we put this little Bundy pipe on right now to get it started, just to keep it from laying around. And then there's this piece here, which has like a T on it. So we'll go over this stuff here in a minute. It's on the Mark III brake pedal reservoir. Looks like this. It's got a spacer there, which actually has a special hole in it for the Bundy pipe to jump through. Yeah, and it's of course on the right side in 75. So that's how that looks.
Now I have to tighten this and tighten this.
Oh, that holds the pressure switch or the...
Yes. And And then this Bundy pipe will screw into the bottom of this. And there's a bolt here with a spacer on the back side because this is hollowed out with a divot. So that bolt will slide through this and tighten up. There's a spacer back there.
Oh yeah, okay.
But for right now, I'm going to put this into soft jaws and I'm going to tighten this stuff up. I'll have to get a small. I got to get a wrench to put that.
We got the vinyl hooked up in there with the T kind of sitting in there, and looped it around into this bracket back here. Got that kind of tightened up. And now he's putting on the master cylinder foot pedal.
Trying to here. Something's catching here. There we go. Suppose this a half, yep.
Get him in there good ways, and then
Yeah, but just leave it a little jiggly because I gotta get this on here.
we'll find out how it all lays before we tighten it all down.
Yeah, in fact, I might have to pull this bolt out because I got to get this in there. Like that. There it goes.
There, you're tightening that Bundy line into that T.
Yep. And then after I get that in there a ways, then I can put this back in here. Like that. And so it don't pop out of there, I just start the nut. In fact, I might want to tighten it because that'll hold it. Well, if I'm going to do that, I'll put the washer on. Oh. Oh. There we go. You can't even hardly see that thing down here, but oh, it's already tightening up already. I must have had it almost all the way on there. You gotta tighten this baby all the way up. Okay. Now, there isn't enough bolt there. I might have to take that back loose. I think this ground wire is supposed to go onto there like that. So now that it's tight under there, I can take that back off. Excuse me. Could get a longer bolt, but
It's not necessary. I wouldn't think you put the
no, that's made.
sandwich it with it.
Yep, it's made to have two washers on it, or at least one.
Yeah, like that, and then
And a washer. Really?
Dropped it.
Where'd it go?
Dang it. Okay. There we go, we found it. Right when I pushed stop, I found it.
The wire has tension on it and it popped it off. So I gotta hold it. Huh.
Well, you can't get too much longer of a bolt because if for some reason that...
Yeah, a swing arm would hit it.
Yeah, I was going to say that. If it extended any farther down, like if you want to jump in the air or something, it might bang into it.
Actually, it's just the right length bolt. That's what they... That's what it was supposed to be on here, so...
Perfect. Yeah, then it probably would clear anyway, so...
I guess I'll have to use it the other way around. I think we're fine. Deal that over a little, but it'll be okay, I think. I don't see anything hitting anything.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Where's that? Me. I got that a little looser. There we go. There's that. That's nice and tight. Now we tighten this one. While I hold on to the other one on the cable or the hose. There's that. Just gotta tighten it there. And we have it. There it is. She's all hooked up.
I suppose then we can torque these down. They're ready to be torqued down, or what? What did you say? What were you saying earlier on the front one?
Yeah, I'll have to look up what the caliper bolts are supposed to be torqued. We need to torque all 4 of those.
All right. All right, so we're going to torque these bolts down as 25 to 30 foot-pounds, and we're going to use 30 foot-pounds.
I was going to say maybe.
Yeah, I was like, why isn't it clicking? Should be there almost. There we go. And the front one's the same, 25 to 30.
See, them bolt links are just about perfect. They're just starting to come through, see, on the back side. That's why those are a little shorter than the front ones.
Because you definitely don't want that hitting that rotor like you were saying.
The front ones do the same thing. They got them bolt links made to where they just are, you can't go down to the hardware store and get these. Because they make special links.
And you can get that stuff from Andover Norton.
Yep.
Just like those kits for the was it the kits we were talking about for the brakes?
Yeah.
And earlier in the video, you saw the starter cables we were talking about. You can get these nice large gauge starter cables from Andover Norton too. I'm not sure that I mentioned that when we were talking about that a little bit ago, but anyway, this is the upgraded thicker cables so they can actually move cold cranking amps through it. So,
makes the starters work real good.
yeah, we've seen some of our starter videos before where it just fires right up, so we're hoping this one is the same way. So I'm torquing down the footrest here. It's 8 foot-pounds. It's a really easy way to strip these is if you go any higher than that, because this is going into aluminum. So we're doing inch-pounds, and we're going to do 96 inch-pounds.
That's really loose yet. Okay. I might need I need a thin wall. I'll be back. Sorry.
Go. You got, I missed it, so just double check it, I guess. Yeah. There you go. Alright. Just got done putting fluid in the reservoir there in the front here. Yeah, I'll watch for bubbles, but I'm gonna see what you're doing down here.
I gotta put this on here. It fits tight. There we go. Get the air bubbles up. Okay. Ready to go. It'll start. It's gonna start pushing fluid.
Oh yeah, there's bubbles coming up here.
Yeah, you let me know when it starts filling.
Alright.
Because I gotta fill the lines and everything. Now I gotta fill it back up again. It didn't come up, did it?
No, it was just air the whole time yet. You don't want it to run low while you're doing that because...
Right. Whatever's in here is going to come back eventually.
Well, yeah, I know you're feeding it through with the line. It's pretty much an easy way to... Yeah, it's kind of an easy way to do things, I guess.
Okay, we ready?
Yeah. You starting now?
Yeah.
Still there yet?
The bubbles going?
I think so, yeah. Yep. You hear it too, I guess. Yep. The bubbles are smaller now, though. But
We might get a bit of leakage here. It was running over the side of the cleaner.
You shouldn't flew up. Little bubbles here and there.
It should be coming back. Bubbles.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. There we go. It's just starting to fill up now. The last syringe full there. We're actually starting to. I don't know. It looks like it's. Does it feel like it's?
No, don't feel like it's.
I was to say it doesn't look like it,
I might.
but it was starting to fill
Maybe
up.
this master cylinder isn't working, but it's looking like it's should. It's dropping.
Can't pump it a while yet.
We're starting to get some break, actually.
Yeah, those some bubbles come up once in a while too. I see. So. There was one. Whoa.
Yeah. You sucker. I think I've got a little bit of air in it yet. It's really close.
We'll try another syringe full here.
Bubbles going.
Don't see none yet.
Is it filling?
Yeah, it's filling. I don't see no air.
Huh?
I don't see any air
Good.
or any sort of like other debris or anything. If there is air, it's very little. It's got something floating in there maybe, but
Yeah, it should have filled up.
it's like a little piece of red something in there, but
I got this with the bike and it looked like it was ready to go. But maybe sometimes they don't like to. You might have to put a kit in it.
well, we can try to work on the rear one for now.
Yeah.
come back to this. We just got done putting food in the rear reservoir.
I gotta have the. Did I leave the wrench on the caliper?
Yeah. I got it.
Okay, here goes nothing. I'm pushing all the air back.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm done.
No, I wouldn't think
Try
so.
one more.
Kind of long. It's not quite as long as the front line, but
Now it's changing. See, it's all fluid. I bet we got brakes.
I mean there is some air up there, but
This got a new master cylinder, so it should work. But I don't see no movement in there at all. Do you?
no, not really. Right there. Something's coming up on this side here. Little small air, and over there too. Yeah, really fine air bubbles. See that?
Yeah. Probably what we got to do in the other one too. Still got
Just the
air
old,
in it.
old way, or the traditional way of doing
Yeah.
bleeding.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to leak.
All over the place. Yeah.
push it forward, but it ain't. I don't feel any stopping power yet.
Hmm.
I don't see no leakage.
The only stuff I see is this stuff you're stripping off the caliper from where you're working, but
Yeah.
there we go. I think we got it. We're gonna end up
The rear one
testing it now.
working
Yes.
good.
All right. We gotta tinker with this front one some more, though. It looks like so.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the rear one done.
We'll try.
Okay, so we got this one. We're gonna try bleeding it the traditional way. So
Push it and hold.
all right, bombed out.
Sweet.
The air came out
Okay.
that time. All right, I let go.
Okay.
All right, got it down.
Okay. Okay, squeeze.
I got it squeezed. Air bubbles came out that time.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Making any change?
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Well, before we go forward, there's just some air bubbles still coming up yet, and then I'm able to squeeze back and have about a quarter of an inch or so.
Oh yeah. Getting better.
I'm held.
Ready?
Yep. All right, bottomed out.
I'm getting no air bubbles on my end. So. Got it?
Got it.
Hold it. Okay.
All right, got it held. A bunch of air came out that time.
I think we're
So,
good.
so we're gonna mess with this a little bit longer, but I think we're pretty close to having it. Well, we believe we got it all set up. It comes back and it stops about right there. And when we rotate the front wheel, it can actually stops. At a decent spot, so I think we got that all established. So since we got the brakes all finished up over here and the rear ones too as well, probably gonna come to an end on this video. And hope you enjoyed everything. The next video we'll work on getting the rear fender put on and getting it wired up, probably the front fender as well, and testing out the electrical system and see how that goes. But hope you enjoyed everything, and we'll see you again soon.